Okie dokie, everybody. Welcome to another Mr. Smith video. Today we're going to be talking about the lumber industry in the Washington state. Okay? Yeah. All right. So today we're going to be talking about the lumber industry in Washington state, ladies and gentlemen. So after settlement, okay, in the late 1800s, early 1900s, lumber becomes a huge industry in Washington state. And the main reason for this is that most of the big trees back east have been cut down over the last 100 or so years as America has expanded westward. Now, when they get to the Pacific Northwest, though, we have massive trees. There are stories that tell of trees 20 or 30 feet wide at the base, so big that they had to use dynamite to top them so that then they could try to cut them safely. I mean, it's just, we're talking massive amounts of timber here. And it becomes a huge business, and this business is run by corporations. So these large corporations and companies will own these small towns that'll be logging towns. Now, for a lot of the people working there, it becomes a lot like the coal mining towns back east, where it's kind of a form of indentured servitude, slavery almost. They say, hey, come in, you can live in company housing, you buy stuff from the company store, and we'll just all take it out of your paycheck. It'll be great. Yeah, except what they charge you will always be just a little bit more than what you make. So you'll always be in debt. You try to leave and say, well, no, you can't leave. You got to work off your debt, man. You still owe us. Well, you'll always owe them. And so it becomes a little bit rough for the average worker in that way. But, you know, it's a living. And these companies, what they'll do is they'll take and they'll log them in the mountains or in the hills or other areas. They will float them down the river. They will put them in huge rafts and in the Puget Sound, and then float them like boats over to the towns that have the lumber mills that will cut them into lumber, and then it will be shipped. It's an extremely dangerous business, and increasing technology doesn't make it any safer, really. It's just there's a high probability that something will fall on you. You will accidentally cut yourself. Machinery breaks. Again, people working with dynamite, what could go wrong there, right? So it's a very dangerous for the common people. Now, eventually, the timber business will kind of all wind up in the control of just 2 or 3 people here in the Oregon and Washington states. And these people are known as the timber barons. Now, this works all well and good, but what really sets this business off, what really increases the timber business in the state, is the railroads. Now, for its own reasons, the United States government and the state governments want these railroads put through, but that's massive amounts of money. So there has to be something for the railroads that offsets this cost. Man, I mean, yeah, we'll make money hauling stuff once it's made, but I just don't know if that's worth actually spending all that money to get there. So what they do is they give them land, not only the land to build the railroad, but they say, hey, look, we'll give you, I don't remember the exact number, but it's big. So let's call it 60-acre chunks, right? 60 square acres, okay, on each side of the track, every other lot. So that means, okay, think of it like a checkered board, okay? And if you put a line straight down the middle of that checkerboard where it folds, right? Okay, the railroad gets all the black squares along that line. They wind up with millions of acres of timber, and they sell the logging rights to this and the mineral rights and all these other things, and they wind up owning massive amounts of land. In fact, the railroads become the largest landholders in the state. In fact, there is almost more railroad land than public land in the state by the time they're done. And then the railroad makes a profit by selling off this stuff and either selling the land itself or selling the rights to the land, and then once it's used up, then selling the land to settlers. So massive, shattering amounts of money. The problem is, though, is that just like back east, eventually there comes a point where you start to run out of trees. And so we wound up with a big problem. We wind up with these timber companies going onto public lands owned by the government and logging illegally. It's kind of like poaching, but with wood. And this becomes a huge issue to the point where they have to actually create laws about this, and they actually have to create a new federal bureau to go out and deal with this and regulate this. Now, the railroad jumps on board and is a big proponent of this. They say, oh, yeah, we need to protect these forests. We need to protect these forests. Now, it's not that they suddenly grew a conscience. It's that all of that land that they got from the state and the government to build the railroads qualifies as, quote, public lands. So what they're really worried about is well, sorry, not public lands, but they're still worried about people coming in and stealing their profits, right? Because they don't want people logging illegally on their lands either. So they're really saying, oh, yes, 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 government, yes, yes, go take care of this for us. So it helps a lot in World War I and World War II. But the problem is again, if you use up all the trees, there's not any left. And this has a huge impact on Washington State today, as we talk about this next time. So ladies and gentlemen, we will see you later. And this starts the controversy between the conservationists who want to protect the forests and those who want to log the forest for money, including those who make their livelihood from it. So it's a difficult, sticky balancing act we're still dealing with today. We'll talk to you more next time, and we'll see you later.